Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? There's this guy, advocate for intelligent design called Stephen Meyer, right? He works at this organization called the Discovery Institute, and there's this video clip on YouTube where he was going to try and debunk the God of the Gaps objection towards intelligent design. I wanted to show you guys what he said and then give my response, right? Because I have a lot to say on what he said. All right, let's play it and then I'll give you my response. Prepared to cringe. It's kind of cringeworthy, but to be honest, it is. But here's the clip.
A God of the Gaps argument is an argument that has a formal logical structure that in logic is known as an argument from ignorance. It's an informal fallacy, and arguments from ignorance have the following form. If I say cause A is not sufficient to produce effect X, and then I say therefore cause B must have produced X, but I have no independent evidence that cause B can produce X, then I've committed a fallacy of arguing from ignorance. Because just because A isn't sufficient to produce the effect in question doesn't mean that some other cause did it. You have to have independent evidence that that other cause is capable of doing it. And that then becomes a God of the Gaps argument when you say, well, various natural processes aren't sufficient to produce, say, the origin of the first life or the origin of the first animals in the history of life. And then if I were to say, therefore God did it, that would be a God of the Gaps argument. It would be an argument from ignorance. But that's not how we're arguing when we make the case for intelligent design, because we're adding an additional premise. We're saying that various kinds of natural processes are not sufficient to produce the origin of new functional information. And we're specifically dialed into the presence of the digital code that's stored in the DNA molecule that performs important biological functions. It's information in a very specific technical sense. So we say, we show that various natural processes are insufficient to produce these large infusions of information we see arising in the history of life that are necessary to build new forms of life. But then we point out from observation of the world around us that we do know of a cause that does produce information. We have independent evidence that intelligent agency, that mind, that creative intelligence can generate information. You and I are doing it right now as we're talking. We're trading notes, trading information. So information is, in our experience, a mind product. We have independent experience that minds produce information. And so when we infer an intelligent agent as having acted in the past based on the presence of digital code stored in the macromolecules of life, we're not arguing from ignorance. We're arguing from our knowledge of cause and effect, and specifically what we know minds can do, namely produce information that merely undirected material processes can't.
Okay, so that's the video clip. That's what he said. He said, he said that, while if we had no independent evidence for his cause, it would be God of the Gaps. He says that we have independent evidence that minds, intelligent agents produce information. So this is the thing. What we have independent evidence of is that humans produce information, right? We have information, we have independent evidence of humans doing this, humans which have brain, sensory organs, arms, hands, all of which are fundamental to our skillfulness in doing these things, right? And not to mention that there's billions of us working together, right? And so if the thing that you are claiming is not a human nor relies on any of the same mechanisms as that humans are experimentally shown to rely on in producing these things, then you do not have independent evidence, right? And so just, when you talk in abstract terms like mind or intelligent agent, right, that's not that's not giving me any physical mechanisms analogous to what a human does, analogous to what we observe or have independent evidence of, right? And when you look into what they believe, right, it really is very disanalogous, right? Because they believe that this thing itself created all of the laws of nature, right? So, unlike us, it did not observe the laws of nature, it did not figure them out experimentally, it created them itself, right? And existed before the laws of nature as we know them, right? And controlling all things, all powerful, all knowing, maybe that's not, all knowing and all powerful, maybe that's not like explicitly what they argue for in their intelligent design argument, right? Because they would recognize that they couldn't demonstrate that in their argument, but at the same time, they would not see it as in conflict with him being all-knowing and all-powerful, right? They would see it as consistent with that, right? And no specifics as to how it's, what, if any, physical structure does this thing have. Many of them believe that it has no physical structure, right? And exists outside of space and time, right? And so we have no independent evidence of that whatsoever, right? What we have independent evidence of is humans designing things, maybe computers, which are also very complex. When all you're offering is not any, like physical structure, any physical mechanisms, all you have to offer is intelligent agent, quote unquote, mind, quote unquote. You're talking in very abstract terms. You're thinking of it in a very supernatural way as well. We have no independent evidence of that, right? And so, hence why there's the God of the Gaps criticism, right? And so it's somewhat of like they will say that like, according to them, they believe that we have a soul. And so, when humans design things, it's not just our brain and sensory organs, arms and fingers, but there's this soul that has the intelligence. But the thing is, even if that is the case, that's not what we observe, right? We don't observe a soul. We don't have independent evidence of that, nor understanding of how it would work whatsoever, right? And so for him to say that we have independent evidence of it is very facetious, right? What we have independent evidence of designing things is humans, which there's billions of us working together, not just one single human doing it all on their own. And every one of us runs on billions of neurons, right? We have brains, sensory organs, arms, hands. All of that is fundamental to our skillfulness in designing things, right? And so when what you're advocating for is not humans, no specified physical structure, not even figuring out what it knows experimentally, it created everything itself, not necessarily working within the framework of the laws of nature, existing in all, potentially existing in all places, knowing all things, controlling all things. I know that some of those things, like existing, being omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, that's not necessarily a part of their argument with intelligent design, right? But at the same time, they don't consider any of that inconsistent with intelligent design, right? And so what you are advocating for then, right, we do not have any independent evidence of whatsoever, right? And so, all right, that's all for now. See you guys.